So, hey guys, welcome to our first episode of The Opinionated. We're really excited to start this podcast.
Yeah, super excited.
And this is just kind of like, I guess, our intro to our actual podcast and our vision for what like we would like to see come from the channel and kind of like why we're making the channel and where we think it can go from here.
Yeah, so Andrew and I have we've known each other for about three years now. Actually.
It's going to be almost 4.
It's like a little over 3, I think, because it's like November. So anyways, and one thing that's really been crazy about our like friendship, I'd say, over anything is the fact that like we've always really talked about, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but like Odin is
itchy,
scratching himself. We gave him a bath yesterday and now he's being super dramatic. But Andrew and I's relationship has always been like really like meaningful. Like we talk about meaningful stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we have like very in-depth conversations, I guess, about the world and like what we think about the world and very critical thinking. And I don't necessarily think a lot of people think that way or a lot of people have those conversations. And I guess that's kind of what piqued our interest to like have this podcast to see like if there is people that talk about these things. Because I guess like what I've noticed with either talking with family or even just like friends around me, that a lot of like the ideas or these big world thoughts, a lot of other people have like never even thought of, right? So I think it's just kind of interesting in that aspect because a lot of people might have heard something about it but never actually wanted to dive into it and actually fully understand it.
Or even if they do try, like they don't really have any basis or like discussion because they don't know enough about it. Like you can tell they've maybe only seen one thing on it. But yeah, I feel like I've always really loved that. You've always like encouraged me to question, and so I think it's just kind of interesting. I feel like we're kind of at this, not midlife crisis, we're not there yet, but like at this age crisis, I guess, that it's like we have, I hate using the word antisocial because I don't think we are antisocial. It's just hard to find people out there that are on the same
page, or on the same, I don't want to say like level, acting like I'm better than somebody
like
or I'm worse than somebody. Yeah, same wavelength. We're not on the same wavelength. We're like either putting time, money, or whatever into things that like I don't value as much. So it's kind of like hard to want to do those things or be around certain people because like you don't necessarily want to do the same things, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're not around like the same circles, I guess you could say. Or you just have different interests.
I think 100% like it's just all of that, and we're early 20s, so we're at that point, like we're in university, and we're not gonna like, I'm not gonna say like every college movie is accurate in the sense that like kids party every weekend, but like some kids truly do party every weekend, and some people, you know, they don't grow out of that in their first year, you know what I'm saying? So, and we did, like, I feel like once we kind of got over that phase, we just realized there's other things we would like to spend our time doing. Yeah,
time and money, because I feel like like a big part of like going out was like
so
money.
So expensive.
It's like very expensive as like a young adult to like want to go out and like find shit that's like worth it to go out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I guess I'm at that point now that it's like if it's an event or something, I'll go out, I'll spend the money, whatever, right? But it's like, don't be hitting me up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday.
And it was getting to that point, like, even if we would travel to our hometowns, it would be like, people are still hitting us up, and it's not even just, like, hang out. It's literally to go out to the bar, which,
I guess that's
in Canada, the small town, I don't know what it's like in the States. I've actually never, like, really gone out in the States. I've never gone out in the States, actually. Yeah, so I don't really know, but in Canada, like, small town bars, like, they're kind of, like, dingy. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say sketchy because like not a lot of
some of them
shit
are
happens.
Sketchy. Some are sketchy.
Most of them are just
like
dingy. Like they just don't put money back into it. Like there's no such thing as like a club in the small towns.
But like I guess a big part of that is like you got to remember for like a small town, for one, I guess like I don't know if people know this, a lot of small towns don't actually charge you like an entry.
Oh yeah, like
right?
Cover.
So they don't charge you, or a cover, an entry, whatever you want to call it, right? Like they don't do that. So like they're already making like less money, right? And the other thing is, it's like usually a smaller town, so it's like, I don't know, man, like there's not a lot to do, like it's like hard, it's like weird. But
I just started like hating it. So we're kind of at this age crisis where we have these conversations, and although I love when we talk about this stuff, it's also like you can only have conversations so many times. Like, I know your opinion and your view on certain things, and it's like we're in a very like stable like relationship, but we don't agree on absolutely everything. Like some stuff it is like, no, we're complete opposites about it. So it's like, I'm interested with this podcast to see other people's opinions, and if our opinions kind of like the majority, if we're proposing stuff that maybe not a lot of people know.
I definitely feel like there's certain things that I don't think we're the majority. I definitely like believe that. Not to say like this is the thing. I don't think, like, I was watching, like, the podcast yesterday of, like, just listening to it, of, like, Kanye West and Big. Oh, what's his name? I can't remember. But there was a podcast that they did together, and I was, like, watching it, and Kanye West was just saying, like, talking about, like, woke. How can, like, woke thinking be, like, thinking if people are telling you what is woke and what isn't? That's not really woke thinking. And I'm like, I get that, but it's just, like, weird to me, because, like, I feel like there's a lot of things that, like, the word woke and all of these, like, words are just thrown out there a lot. Yeah. And it's, like, I don't woke. Everybody's woke at this moment. Everybody has, like, outside of the box ideas. Yeah. Everybody is, like, their eyes are open. Everybody
and
is,
I'm like, we could also be perceived as hypocritical for doing that, because it's like, oh, everybody has a podcast now.
Yeah, everybody has a podcast.
But it's like, how many times do you guys watch a movie, watch a YouTube channel?
It's the same thing all the time.
Yeah, like, listen to a podcast, and then it's like, just kind of touches on stuff, and there's really no, like, well, it's because of this. Like, it's just like, oh, well, this is allegedly because of this, and I'm like...
And I hope you guys, like, when you watch this, like, you understand that, like, these things that we talk about, like, they might not be 100% concrete or this or that. At the end of the day, this is what? Our opinions.
Our opinions.
Right? So at the end of the day, this is what our world view has given us, being Canadian. We are Canadian. I don't know if we said that. Did we say we were Canadian?
I mean...
We're Canadian.
We're Canadian. If it matters, if it means anything.
We're Canadian, so we live in Canada. And I guess, like, some history about us, like... You're from a small town. I'm from a small town.
We met in a bigger town. And
well, not a town, city.
We
met in a big city.
Yeah, classified as a city. And we met at university. And that was like a roller coaster that we'll have to get into.
Yeah, that can be like...
How we met will be a different time, because that is a very long story. Yeah. And honestly, like, because we've been together for so long now, it's like... There's so many branches that come off of that story as well, with so many, like, fallouts, crazy memories. It's a long story. So we'll have to get into that sometime. But, yeah, so I guess that's a little bit about us.
Pretty vague.
Our university career, I guess we could discuss that. It's been a roller coaster. And one thing that I would love to use this platform for is, like, literally to reach out to young adults and students that are struggling, because I remember when I came out of high school, that was like the most life-changing experience, and it was really lonely, and it was really difficult.
Yeah, I feel like it's a very, like, difficult time in, like, a young person's life, because I guess, like, you're kind of at this position where a lot of your life, like, decisions or even thoughts, for that matter, came from somebody else, right? Like, a lot of the times you don't have that freedom when you're younger. So it's like, you don't have to make a lot of big decisions. You don't have to decide, like, this thing or that thing, or you don't have to worry about a lot of things. So, like, especially going into university or leaving home, right? You're kind of put up against, like, all of these new obstacles. Plus, like, the loneliness, the isolation, not really feeling like there's anybody you can really ask for help. So
you're
like,
expected to make all these decisions.
Yeah, and, like, already know how to do them, like, solve it.
At, like, an adult level. Like, you pay taxes when you're 18.
Yeah,
like...
it's a lot, right? So, like, I guess that's just something that, like, a lot of people are like, well, that's just a part of life, right? And it is a part of life, but I think it's, like, something that's important to talk about. And there's also like, I think it's important to also note that I think is also very lost a lot of the times in our world today is, as generations go, we always tend to say like, oh, it was easier or it was harder when I was older, right? And like, I think that's like a lot of where the problem stems from, because it's like, we're always on a different playing field. There's always new obstacles. Yeah. It's like our kids, it's always hard to compare. It's like literally trying to compare Michael Jordan to LeBron James. We all like would love to see it actually compare.
And it gets into sports.
Sorry, as a sports reference. But it would be, if you wanted to compare music, it'd be like comparing Michael Jackson to the Beatles to Drake. Like, sure, you can compare them, but it's like, either to say way, who's like, the best, like, they're just all on different levels. It's a different playing field.
If you're listening to this and you're offended by the fact that we think that it's difficult being a young adult in today's society, like, okay, boomer, like, I'm sorry. It's not to disregard your struggle, because I'm not at all arguing that, like, any generation's, like, coming up was easy. Like, everybody has their own struggles, but, like, it's also kind of just very disrespectful to disregard another generation's struggle because you think yours was most difficult. Like, I'm sure there's people in your generation that you would even say had an easier upbringing too. So it's like, it's literally what you're saying. Different playing field. Like, just shut up, okay? Like, just
it's literally like trying to compare like apples to oranges, I feel like, at the end of the day. And I just feel like you just can't do that. No. It just makes literally no sense. Because, like, there's so many, like, even just how quickly the internet has changed.
I don't know if you guys can hear him, but Odin's, like, aggressively scratching himself.
Itchy boy.
He does this when he wants attention. Yes. He's so angry because we haven't taken him for his, like, 5th walk of the day. But we're taking him to the dog park later. Yeah. If you would just calm down.
He's sneezing.
Lay down.
Allergic to the...
Just collapse.
Oh my gosh.
He's like folding.
Oh.
Anyways. But, yeah. So, there's there's quite a few reasons why we wanted to do this. And I'm just so excited to finally start. Like, I feel like we have so many good topics. And I'm just so excited to hear other people's opinions on it. Because, honestly... I haven't, like, I YouTube people to see what their opinions are, but I can't just go out with some friends and talk about half this shit because they would just be like, okay, Jaden, like, we get it.
Yeah, or I'm told it. Or I'm like...
You're a stoner. Because that's what it always is. It's like, yeah, the simulation theory could be real. And they're like...
Yeah. Do you know what's like... Do you know, like, the messed up part is, like, to go off of that? Like, I guess there's, like... I've, like, tried to have conversations, even with, like, people that, like, I don't necessarily know a lot. So, like, I'll try and, like, talk. Yeah. And then you try and talk about, like, very in-depth things, like the simulation theory, like where gender is going in today's society and what that means, what it could mean for the future, right? Like, big topics, or even, like, the fact that, like, like...
questioning existence or just itself.
Yeah. like, or questioning, like, I don't know, questioning, like, the foundation of everything we've been told. Like, just, like, a bunch of stuff, right? Yeah. Like, when you have those conversations with somebody that you don't really know a lot, you get the, like, and then they kind of, like, look at you weird, and then you're kind of, like, thinking, like, now do they think, like, I'm weird, or, like,
you almost
what?
feel like you're coming off, like, too strong, but it's, like, that's what you want to talk about.
Do you know what a guy even, like, what he said? So, like, I was, like, talking to, like, the one, guy, right? I was talking to this one guy in one of my classes. Sorry.
What guy? Who? But, like, explain my context, because you said you would talk to a guy.
Sorry, I'll just, like, explain it again. So I was, like, talking to this one guy after my class, right? We were, like, walking. I don't know why that's so hard to explain. We were fucking just walking. Okay, so we were walking. I said it, like, 3 times, okay?
Just to make sure people know. One more for the books. Okay.
So we were walking back from class, right?
So you weren't leaving class, you were walking back from class?
Sorry, no. We were leaving class. This is the most twisted
story. This is literally my life. If anyone's watching, like, Andrew will come home and tell me a story, and I'm like...
I'm sorry. But, like, the details don't really matter. We were going to class, coming from class, we were walking.
Whatever, y'all were walking.
And there was class involved, right? So... we were just walking and talking. So we was just talking about like these big ideas and big thoughts that like, I don't know, man, like I've been talking about this with my girlfriend, you know, we were up late, whatever, just like these are just ideas, right? And then he kind of like looks at me weird, and I'm like, what, like, do you think, like, because he was like looking at me very weird. I was kind of like, what, do you think I'm like thinking too much or something? And he was like, yeah, like it was like I put the words in his mouth, and he's basically thinking that I'm just like thinking way too much about shit, right? And I'm like, I guess that's true, right? Like I think about
you're thinking
these
about
things.
the stuff that's not necessarily told to you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But the weird part is, I just don't know how, like, me personally, like, you could go your life without thinking about these things in the depth that I have, because I'm like, for one, I find them hella interesting, right? And for two, I'm like, how could you just, like, there's got to be some point in time that you were exposed to something, right? Mm-hmm. And it's piqued your interest, right? Or it's like a curiosity of not knowing, right? Like, don't you want to kind of like pick your brain a little bit and be like, question stuff? Like, I don't know. That's just something I've always like loved to do, is always question things, always try and like flip it around, like, shake it.
Do you think that was embedded by like family? Like, so you felt like that? Was that encouraged your whole life, do you think?
Well, like, this is the thing. I never felt like it was like, you know, priority number one for me. I felt like priority number one for me was always like school, family, like just like family, school, like that was literally what felt important to me, right? Like even sports was really important, right? But I don't know, I guess the fact of questioning and stuff, like even to this day, like my mom says like, oh yeah, we always told you guys to question, but it never, like when I was a kid looking back now, it was never like a moment that like I felt like my parents were like that. So it's like hard for me to say like it's 110% my parents, because I do think that fact of questioning can be told to somebody, but I do think it's a fact of
when it's applied. Yeah, that depends on the person, because I think like we've all had those classes with the kids that do ask too much, and they're like just asking because it's like basic things that like you know, it could be sped up a little bit, but I could definitely understand that. For me, my mom, I think, heavily pushed for me to question a lot, and we can maybe talk about family background in a different episode. That could be interesting. But yeah, my mom's always kind of pushed for me to question about like a bunch of different things, because I've come from kind of a religious roller coaster of a background. So they don't, like, I don't even think my family kind of understands how to question, but they are almost like afraid to not believe.
It's like hard,
which
like,
is normal.
That's like something that's like something else, I guess, that like, not to interrupt you, but like to stem off of that is like we both come from like religious backgrounds, just so like everybody knows, and I think we both have like experienced like the super religious side of life, and also like kind of branched off of that and kind of like found our own balance, which I think is like I wouldn't say like it's necessarily important for everybody, but I do think there's a fact of like you should question like even religion, right? And I think that's like, I don't know, religion's always been used as something like to manipulate or to control.
We're getting heavy now.
Well, it's just like but like not even like, I don't want to get into like we could get into like the actual church, but if we were just talking about just like other people just using religion as like a means of their own, right? Like there's examples, you can just Google it, and there's examples, it may not be like the Bible, but he's spewing his own side of religion and he made his own thing. It's just like a very common thing. So I just think it's important as a person to always question things and always try and look at other sides of things, because like you never know what you're being told, if there's another side to why you're being told, right? I think that's just important.
I definitely think that's, I don't know, and it's crazy because I don't want to sound super, like, ignorant or, like, be a shitty human, but I feel like a lot of people, like, I don't mean to be no shitty human, but I feel like a lot of people don't question, and that is kind of what's getting to me, because in a lot of my classes, you know, this is one issue that I've been seeming to have, is that sometimes the system is broken But just for one example, it's like, I feel like in a lot of classes, even if you disagree with something that's being proposed, like, you kind of still have to write assignments on it. You still have to give the answers that they're looking for. Yeah. But I think what happens is that, you know, there's some students that understand that boundary, and then there's some students that don't, and they just kind of see whatever's being given to you is knowledge, and it's factual because it's being produced by, like, the school. Yeah. And I've really been finding that with classes, and I've honestly found that when we did have friends, like, I also don't want to sound shitty saying that we still do have friends and we love them. It's not that we don't have friends. But we had closer friends and we socialized a lot more years ago because, and I feel like that distance was created because also, like, sometimes you just get into a discussion and, you know, you just kind of got to sit back and shut your mouth because, like, that is their basis. It's not that deep. But they're not gonna listen to anything that you have to say.
I guess that's an interesting point that, like, stems from, like, I guess another reason that we really wanted to make this podcast is exactly that, right? The fact of, like, it's hard to talk to other people sometimes about, like, opinions or things that you think because of that exact thing. A lot of the times you'll propose very good points and things that, like, make sense a lot. They'll propose why they believe what they believe. And a lot of the times there's nothing really to stand on. It's kind of just something all the time that's been told to you over and over again, right? And it's these ideas that I guess go into the whole part of, like, very, sorry. It's also changed. Like, it goes into, like, critical thinking and making sure you always question what you hear, right? Yeah. Because I think that comes down to even school, right? How many times has it been, like, known across just human history that we've learned things and then it's like, oh, I'm sorry, that's not actually true. We just said that and now we have to, like, change it a little bit. We always, like, learn new things as humans, and I think that's kind of one of the interesting things of our race. We always try and, like, hide things. We always try and, like, hide things to make us look better or hide things to try and make us, like, have a certain perception. And, like, think about that. If that's like a down to earth, like, every person, like, that's common with them, imagine, like, governments. You think they're gonna want to tell you when they, like, totally fuck up? Like, no. No. Like, nobody's gonna want to be like, yeah, that was me in the back, like, I caused that problem.
There's no transparency anymore. And, like, one thing for me that I really want this podcast to also kind of not, like, enforce but emphasize is discussion. And like, discussion means something, okay? Like, I can't believe that I'm a third year in university and my, like, lab, like, teacher or its teacher assistant has to literally explain to us that shouting is not discussing, but yes, it still needs to be said. And so, yes, we are the opinionated, and yes, we emphasize wanting to hear everyone's opinion and to have a discussion, but we want to enable a discussion. We don't want to have, you know, hate. If you have feelings, very strong feelings towards something, and you have reasoning for that, and you put that down, like, okay, like, that's one thing, but there's other things of just being spiteful, being hateful, and, like, that's just not a way to provide your perspective.
Or just communicate as a person, because I think that is something that I've learned as a person at 22 years of age, is that a lot of people have that missing part in their life, communicating, because it's like, that's something that's so important, so vital to us as human beings, having to communicate so we can work together, because at the end of the day, you need other people to work together. This is a big world. Like, you can't do things just by yourself, right?
And it definitely doesn't help the fact that, you know, people are now, like, behind a screen. Like, it's already been proven people are more likely to say literally whatever the fuck comes to mind because they're behind a screen. They have no... So, let's just try to keep this place positive and, you know, educative. Like, let's work together, learn some shit in an interesting way. Like, we want it to be such a, like, chill place that it's like, if you're just coming home from a 12-hour day and you're fucking tired and you're making mac and cheese in your kitchen and you don't want to listen to music because you work at a club and you've heard music all night, put us on and you can fucking fall asleep. You know what I'm saying? If you're just, like, a homie of, like, group of homies smoking weed and you want to fucking blow your mind with shit, pop some shrooms, come listen to us. Like, we're literally trying to appeal to everybody because it's like, we're not trying, I don't know, we're not trying to just be like those people that it's like, smart thinking has to be like, you know, either scientist is saying it, or it's like such a stoner that's then there's no sentences. I don't understand.
Yeah. I don't know. I just hope that, like, you guys kind of see what we're trying to do and kind of enjoy what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is something that we've been passionate about, and of course we're going to talk about a lot of different things, and I'm sure some you might like, some you may not like. And and you know what? That's part of life. And that's the best part about life. You don't have to like everything. And I think that's kind of one of the cool things about, like, the world we live in is, like, I hope that throughout life, like, we keep that being able to, I don't know, like things and not like things, and, like, being able to tell people about that, because I think that's, like, something that is getting slowly harder and harder to do, is, like, it's, like, one of those, like, things that, like, you can't always tell the truth, because sometimes it's, like, you gotta watch what you say.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we're prepared to, you know, we're prepared to have people not agree with us. Honestly, yeah, literally all my life people haven't agreed with me, and you know, you deal with mean people every day, of your life. So it's like, we are prepared for that. But really, guys, like, I am so excited for this. If you all have any topic, like, we have, like, a whole list. Like, we probably have, like, 5 months of footage that we're gonna be, like, pumping out, because we have so much that we would love to talk to you guys about. But, you know, if you guys have anything crazy or something that you don't really hear much, pop it down in the comments, because
it can be, like,
if it's interesting,
it can be like a mainstream conspiracy theory that, like, you might want us to talk about, just because, like, you're like, oh, I wonder, like, how they think about it, or, like, what they have, if they've ever thought about it, right? Because, like, a lot of the conspiracies, a lot of, like, these things we have talking about, and I don't know, it's kind of interesting, because I guess, like, sorry, this is how my brain works, guys.
No, I was laughing because you said talking.
Oh, talking.
Talk.
So, talk about it. So, the foundation of, like, questioning, it just reminded me of a conspiracy. And I'm, like, all twisted. It just reminded me of a conspiracy of when I was a kid that my parents actually took me to. Like, we went multiple times. Is the JFK...
Airport?
No.
Museum?
The JFK Museum of, like, where he was actually, like, supposedly shot. And, like, the building he was shot in. So, like, I guess, like, that's something at a young age, like, I was kind of exposed to conspiracies. Like, we literally went to, like, the simple, and you, like, hear all the conspiracy, and, like, you hear, like, what people have said, why they think the conspiracy. It's actually, like, a very, if you guys have the chance to check it out, shout out JFK Museum. But yeah, that's how my brain works, and yeah, that's a sick place. Hey guys, so our camera died while we were talking, so we're just gonna do this for, like, a quick wrap up of our video.
Yeah, so we just want to know from you guys what your ideas are, like, when people, you know, you're watching a YouTube video and people are like, oh, like, comment, and subscribe. Like, would you guys rather somebody say that, or would you rather it just be like, not say that, or should we try to be like, oh, leave your opinion? Because we do genuinely want your opinion, but I just feel like saying, like, comment and subscribe isn't genuine.
Well, because it's used, like, over and over again.
I'm sorry if this is super shaky. I'm also just using my arm, so.
Because you went to the gym, flex. Okay. Anyhow, you're not pudgy, but if you guys stay tuned for, like, our next episode that will be dropping very soon, and we'll see you then.
Yeah. Thanks so much, you guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Oh
my goodness. Here we go. Okay, let me hear it.
I'm gonna do an edit of every single video of you starting, and it's gonna be literally you swishing saliva around in your mouth, and we're gonna do that when we get, like, 5 years into the gig, and it's gonna haunt you.
Do you know what the messed up part is? I get bullied every single day that I wake up and I go to bed. Like, so you guys remember that.